you see what Trump did? He's rounding up mostly documented migrants to send them back. Bet you regret voting for him now, huh?
No, that's pretty much why we voted him into office, really.
He's even rounding up innocent illegals who didn't even commit a crime.
Illegal immigration is definitely illegal.
But did you know that Trump has already started sending peace-loving, patriotic, undocumented foreigners back to their countries of origin on planes? Bet you regret voting for Trump now, don't you?
Bet you regret voting Republican, huh?
I mean, now that I know this was always possible, I regret voting for every other Republican.
Oh my gosh! Mexico just denied the plane of undocumented doctors and lawyers that Trump sent over.
All right, that'll teach him.
Oh no.
Oh, never mind.
Trump is throwing undocumented, better than us angel darling immigrants out of planes? Oh, you have to regret voting for him now.
You regret it yet?
You must be regretting it now.
Oh my gosh! Trump just signed an executive order to install a 50-foot tall wall around the entire country with moats full of alligators and fully automated laser turrets and razor wire at the top, and it's already finished construction!
Magnificent.
You must regret it
You're
now.
definitely regretting your vote. I know you're regretting your vote now.
Wow. All great news. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. I am. It's true. I have documentation to prove it. So there you go. Lots of documentation. Really crazy amounts of documentation. I am going to be spending most of tonight talking about SignalGate. I know. Some of you folks in Rumble in particular are saying, but Joe, you talked about this yesterday and the day before. I'm so disappointed. Let me explain something to you. It's an ongoing developing story. Okay. So yeah, as it happens, if there was earth-shattering news that I can just basically be talking, this is the news. This is there's developments in the story, there are changes in the story, there's intricate new explanations and theories. There are new press conferences on it. You can hate the story. It doesn't make it not a story. It's a story, and it's a new story today from what we had 24 hours ago. So I don't know what to tell you. Is this going to be the last time I'll talk about SignalGate tonight? I don't know. I don't know. Do you know what's going to happen? Do you know what's going to happen tomorrow? No, you don't. No, you don't. Although I should give you all a heads up. Tomorrow, I'm only going to be on locals. Tomorrow I plan on doing a local show. If you catch Dominion After Dark for like the Joe no show, Mo show, no show, no po show, no for no show, Joe show thing, if you're on Rumble especially. And yeah, but I'm gonna be on locals. On Friday, I'm supposed to be on the Culture War with Tim Pool debating the Mahmoud Khalil situation. So I spent a lot of time trying to prep for that this week, just like reviewing certain documents and immigration law. My God, it's a bear. I'm sitting there trying to just parse everything together because I want to understand the process a little bit better. If you're an immigration lawyer, you want to reach out to me and just make sure I'm not missing something on this. That would be awesome. That would be good because I want to talk from a position of actually knowing rather than being pretty sure I know. And right now I'm at pretty sure. I expect that by the time I walk in there, I'll be at knowing. That's the goal. That's the goal. So yeah, there's a lot to cover with SignalGate. There was a 30-minute press conference that I plan on watching with you all. We're going to go through that where Trump was addressing questions about SignalGate. And there's all sorts of, every place I was looking at, there's another X space talking about what's happening with this thing. And here's the thing, there's also infighting because amongst Republicans, amongst MAGA or folks who are frequently identified as being MAGA, there are different takes as to what should happen here. Do you recognize this as being a screw up? It's really that's the starting. Do we recognize this as being, is it something that, based on what we see so far, we should recognize a screw up? And if you deny that, there's a lot of reasons to say yes, and there's a lot of reasons to say hell no. And I want to break that down and give you where I'm at on it, because, you know, as the story unfolds, as facts come out, there's more to talk about. So I expect to spend a lot of time talking about that tonight. I'll probably end up taking phone calls, depends on how long it takes me to get through videos and stuff of that nature. But I do have, before I get to that, one or two things that I wanted to just cover with you. I'm not going to do the whole Harry Sisson thing. I just feel like it's beneath me. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do Harry Sisson unless, like, someone basically sends me a super chat saying, "No, Joe, do it." It's going to be like a nice super chat, something nice. Yeah. Then I'll have a video or two queued up to go. But otherwise, I'm probably not going to end up doing that. Anyhow, the first thing I wanted to share with you all, though, and I see some of the chats out there. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. Just a quick share. Some of you may recall that there's a district attorney somewhere down south. What's her name? She's in Georgia, in district attorney Fannie Willis. So Fannie Willis. Apparently, when she got under oath, and she told the whole world that my relationship with Nathan Wade is over. It's over. Goodbye. Done. We had some good times. Everything was going well. We were kind of happy, but, you know, one reason or another, we just sort of fell off. Swore under oath. It's over. Nathan Wade swore, it's over. Let us stay on the case. Please, Judge McAfee, please let us stay on the case. That's what they were saying when they were trying to get on the case. That's all over. Oh, what are you talking about? He's like, I wouldn't hit that no more. And that's what we all heard. That's what we all heard. And then there was this video that surfaced, and this one surfaced a little while ago. This story surfaced a little while ago. There's a reason I'm bringing it up. This is Fannie Willis's daughter getting pulled over by cops for doing something wrong with the driving.
Couple hours.
You know who I am?
Mom, Dad, who's looking? Okay.
Nice to meet you.
So,
oh, look at that. Fannie Willis.
So,
oh, look at that.
Nice to meet you.
Nathan Wade.
Nice to meet you.
First
Just hang out together. He's just like showing up there.
That's something she's going to have to call the
Wait,
probably what happened, she had a speeding ticket or some kind of traffic infraction, never went to court, didn't take care of it.
Wait. Why is Nathan Wade there?
So she's gone over to Fayette County Jail, which is right in Fayetteville Square. It's 145 Johnson Avenue.
If you find her,
I would say a couple hours is the process. It just depends on how busy they are. And
you find her at some random time and say, "Hey, there's an emergency. You got to get down here." And she's going to show up in her T-shirt with her boyfriend in a T-shirt. They both happen to be dressed the same. I don't think they just decided, "Hey, let's throw on T-shirts and go bail out my daughter from her traffic stop." I think they're probably hanging out at a similar location, because it's not like we see them dressed in T-shirts all the time. You know, they both happen to be wearing one. So yeah, that is Nathan Wade over here. That's Nathan.
Like that, okay. The driving on the suspended.
I wasn't sure at first either.
Traffic citation, she's got to have.
Everyone says it is. So I'm going with the opinion, the inscrutable opinion of everyone.
They've got a list of people over there too that you can choose from and use whatever. So the vehicle's registered to her. Okay. I don't know.
The actual facts of this traffic stop are really kind of boring, and I don't really care. And I'm not looking to invade into the personal space of some child of a public figure. So the point is that these two showed up there. That's why everyone cared about this video, is like that these two are hanging out together when they told the court that their relationship is all over. Kaputski, Dunskies, adios. It was mutual. It was never mutual. It's never mutual. But maybe, who knows? It was a weekend. Maybe they were working together. They had work that had to get done. And a lot of people see this video, which came out today. It came out today. A lot of people see this video and they have questions. They have questions when they see this video, because when we look at this video that came out from today, this over here, Nathan Wade. That's Nathan Wade. This is video from LAX. Yeah, the airport in LA, like a country away from Georgia, like really far. Like I mean, you could go further and stay in America if you actually consider Hawaii and Alaska part of this country, which I do, Pam. I do very, very much consider Alaska part of our country, Pam. But it's pretty far. It's pretty far. It's like 3,000 miles from their home. So maybe it's a work lunch or something that they're having here. But there you go. There's Penny. There's Nathan. Oh, what are they doing in LAX together? What the hell? Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! No, sirree, Bob. No, don't give us that angle. I don't even like this angle. No. Too tight. Too tight. Too close, too tight. Too close, too tight. Oh, it's getting worse. Yeah, so there you go. It only makes the odor of mendacity just reek that much more. The odor of mendacity that when you're watching that video, because it doesn't seem very believable. But I give them the benefit of the doubt. It's probably a work lunch. It's probably a work lunch that they just decided to skip across the country for lunch or something like that. That's probably what it is. Everyone jumps to conclusions. I don't know why you gotta jump to conclusions. You don't know. Maybe they bumped into each other in LAX and they're like, oh, what are you doing here? Oh, what are you doing here? Maybe that's all it was. Let's go eat some snacks at the local Stop and Shop in our LAX or whatever that is over there that they were hanging out at. Yeah, it could be something they just happened to bump into each other in LAX carrying luggage, their own respective luggage. That's very, very possible thing that happens halfway across the country in some random city at the same time. Very, very possible. Or a work lunch. That's also very feasible. You don't know. Nobody knows for sure. Everyone wants to just say, you don't. I'm just saying, you don't know. You don't know. Could she get in trouble for that? That's what some of you may be wondering, for her mendacity, which seems to have far more than an odor. And it's risen from odor of mendacity to stench of mendacity. Answer to that question is no. No, most certainly not going to get in trouble for lying to the courts. I'll tell you, is it theoretically possible? I guess. Is there any chance? No. There's if you're betting on that or the snowball that's in the proverbial HE double hockey sticks, go with the snowball, because that's probably got a better chance than her getting in trouble for what happened. Because she can always say, well, we split, we were done, but then we became then the whole trauma of dealing with with Trump's ridiculous claims brought us closer together than ever. That's exactly what she will say. You know that. Bam, Ronnie, kicking it off. I was careful. I was careful before mocking Alaska because of you. Really? Because I don't know anyone else who lives in Alaska. It's a very big state, but there's only, like I said, you're one of the 19 people who live in there. So how am I supposed to know? but you're one of them. That's almost for sure. Let's talk about putting some balls on the Statue of Liberty. Yes, just roll that sucker back to Paris. I don't know what that means. How about just don't give it more action than it merits by calling it SignalGate? Do that at least. Okay. What do you want to call it? The Signal incident? What would you like me to call it? I understand that anytime you attach gate onto something, it has a nefarious type of context to it, and that's a fair critique. So what do you want to call it? You want to call it the signal troubles? There's a lot of the word signal happens to work in a lot of ways that it sound much worse than just SignalGate. I kid you. Like, the signal claim. Okay, I mean, it's a fair point, because like I said, it's always a scandal when you're talking about Gate. I have more of a problem with him endorsing Lindsey Ladybug Graham today than SignalGate. I have a problem with that too. I actually saw that right before I came out here. In case you missed it, I probably dig that up pretty fast. Let's see how fast I can do it. Yeah. Yeah, this is it. See? Senator Lindsey Graham is working incredibly hard for the great people of South Carolina. The state of love it won big in 2016, 2020, and 2024. Lindsey has been I don't know, how is he in 16, 20, 24? It's senators every 6 years. I don't understand. All right. But Lindsey has been a wonderful friend to me and has always been there when I needed him. As chair of the Senate Budget Committee, Lindsey is fighting tirelessly to grow the economy, lower taxes, and eliminate government waste. Lindsey is also relentlessly focused on helping us secure the border, stop migrant crime, strongly support our great military vets, promote American energy dominance, defend our always under siege Second Amendment, and ensure peace through strength. Senator Lindsey Graham has my complete and total endorsement for re-election. He will not let you down. He will. He will. Everyone, South Carolina should help Lindsey have a big win next year. He will let us down. That's a promise. That's you can be guaranteed. I'm bothered by this too. I try to come back to I think he's really needs to sort of butter the bread. Is that if you know what I'm saying? I think that's what this is. That's what this is. I think he recognizes that he needs neocon to push forward his agenda. He certainly needed it in order to get his confirmations through. So I don't know. Maybe he cut some deal. Maybe he cut deals with the devil. Sometimes that's what politics is. But do I take this as being this is gross? It's gross because Lindsey Graham is exact opposite of this, and he was a disaster in 2020 and again in 2022. He was. He turned on Trump after the election. He floated out there the idea of having national abortion in October of an election year. Why would you do that? When you don't even have the House or the Senate, and you're like, oh yeah, that's what we're gonna do. It's a way of basically scuttling MAGA is what I thought when I saw it. So I have a lot of problems with Lindsey Graham. I do. Not the least of which, the whole ladybugs thing is just sort of gross. That's just sort of, that's got Fanny type of stank all over it. Pardon the pun. Yeah, you saw what I did there. Yeah, that's gross. That's gross. What he does in his personal life, though, that's not what I'm judging him based on. I'm judging him based on the fact that as a politician, he's slime. And that's why I don't like Lindsey Graham. So if I lived in South Carolina, no, I would not vote for him. On the other hand, almost certainly better than any Democrat you're going to get. So I would try to primary him out. But yeah. The typo story. Okay, maybe next time I'll refer to it as the typo story. This way people won't think, oh my God, he's still on about that story. The typo story. I'll have you in mind, Aaron, when I do that, okay? Once you see people clinging to the outside of airplanes, leaving a war zone only to fall to their deaths. I don't know, Joe. You become numb to trivial things like signal chats. I've said this. I have yelled it. I have screamed it. The Democrats are bad faith. They are. This is not a matter politically as far as the Democrats. This is a matter of like, what do you want? What do you want from Trump? What do you want from this administration? What do you want to help inspire confidence, not in the Democrats or even in MAGA? This is a matter of like just a general vibe across the country as to like what would a leader do in this scenario? What do you want to see a leader do in this scenario? And it could be that you want to see him do nothing. That's a possible thing. I just feel, look, there's a lot of theories. There's a lot of theories about what happened here. And I'm going to give you my perspective before we leave here. I'm going to give you my perspective as to what needs to be done. And it's been somewhat evolving. I'm not going to kid you. It's been evolving as new facts have come to light. New statements have come to light. It's been evolving. So I'll give you my thoughts before I leave. Otherwise, why would I be here? Seeing them from this perspective, the odor mendacity stinks. Yeah, it's not good. I don't think it's one of those like, circus cameras. That's what you get. They say the camera adds 10 pounds. I just think that, how many cameras did she eat? The signal who gives have we learned nothing from the past 8 years? Okay, so here's the thing that I'm going to point out to you guys. There was an admission. And then there was a press conference about it. So it's not like I'm the one who's keeping this alive. Donald Trump felt that he should keep it alive. And I happen to agree with that call personally. I think he was doing the right thing and not trying to pretend that this is not something that's just going to automatically go away. But because there's new parts of the typo story, more texts which are somewhat more embarrassing have come out, and I'm going to share those texts with you. So we're going to go through exactly what was said, because now nothing is censored. Everything has come out. Everything. I am behind regarding the Wade videos. I don't know of any man who carries a woman's bags unless they share a bed with them. You just don't know enough Southern gentlemen. That's the deal, the typo story? All right, there we go. Kathy, Goldberg Gate. Goldberg Gate. How the Weasel reporter infiltrated DoD signal war chat. Check out Mike Waltz's Chinese chief of staff, Loomer reported. Mike Waltz's Chinese chief of staff. Now you got me curious. There's so many theories out there. So many theories. And here's the thing. I think there is going to be an investigation. All right. You want me to check out Laura Loomer? I'll pull up. I'm going to forget if I don't do it now. So let me see if I can find what you're referring to here. She has a lot. She posts a lot, Where is... Is this it? 52 minutes? 52 minutes? Is this what you want from me, Kathy? 52 minutes?
Sixers. She clerked for Justice Sotomayor, who called President Trump a white. I don't understand why the Trump administration, given President Trump's orders to fire and get rid of everybody from the FBI and the DOJ who was involved in persecuting and going after January Sixers, why he's allowed to have this position as Deputy National Security Council advisor when his wife was involved in persecuting and going after January Sixers. She clerked for Justice Sotomayor, who called President Trump a white supremacist. So at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself who's doing the vetting here, and why is there so much nepotistic garbage that is basically creating a bunch of filth within the inner circle for Donald Trump. It just seems like there's this pattern, this very unfortunate scenario where people who have serious conflicts of interest or conflicts as it relates to individuals and their family are allowed to surround the president, jeopardizing our own national security, but then actual loyalists are kept out of working with President Trump. The second part of the investigation that I published today, looking into Alex, who also used to work for...
Okay, I'm getting a little ahead of stuff. People are going to be a little confused by this. I'll try to come back to this.
For Covington and Berlin.
Jack, stop. Chung or Chang, his wife has worked for the DNC. Alex Wong. Yes, Alex Wong. Supposedly, Alex Wong is the name of the person who added Jeffrey, who is on Walt's staff, who added Jeffrey Goldberg to the Signal group. Alex Wong. And yeah, right. The jokes write themselves, I know. So I'm not gonna let's get into what came out today. Let's start breaking down what came out today. All right, cool. I'll look for your DM. All right. Do me a favor, Kathy. Like, send me the oldest first so I can see like it developing. So this way I'll sort of, oldest and then to youngest to newest. And this way I'll sort of work it through. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that. All right. Let's break it down. Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic has just released the full text message chain. I provide text in this post in the thread below. Checkmate. His thread is kind of useless and a waste of time. I don't really care so much about that, but he did give us the text. So save image as just save. I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to make it bigger. Save it. Sorry, I didn't have a chance to actually do this earlier. But save image as, save, and save image as. Save. So this is when everyone first came into the group. It says Michael Waltz added you to the group. We know that the person who was doing this on behalf of Michael Waltz was not him individually, but his staffer named Alex Wong. Alex Wong, that person should be fired. That person should be fired. And I'll tell you this. I was talking to Tardio. You guys know his first name. What's his first name? Tardio? I was talking to him on X Space, and he's like, stop falling for the Democrats' psyops crap stupidity. This guy's a known shyster. He's a known Trump hater who lies about Trump all the time. And because I said, look, whoever put him in that chat, you got to go. Now, I was not talking about Michael Waltz. I meant literally the underling underneath Michael Waltz. At the time, I didn't know it was Alex Wong. I learned that later. But yeah. This guy who screwed up and put Jeffrey Goldberg in there that's someone who you at least got to put on temporary leave and give him no further access to anything until you complete an investigation, right? Let's check into whether or not he's properly vetted. Let's check into whether or not it was a mistake or he was trying to embarrass Trump. Let's check whether he did it. Maybe some people are speculating that it could have been a hack. We'll talk about that somewhat. But anyway, this is how the chat went. Team establishing a principals group for coordinating on Houthis, particularly. So Michael Waltz sort of introducing everyone to why we're all here. My deputy, Alex Wong, is pulling together a tiger team at deputy's agency chief of staff level, following up the meeting in the sit room this morning for action items, and we'll be sending that out later. Please provide the best staff POC from your team for us to coordinate. I guess that's a contact person. Over the next couple of days and over the weekend. Thanks. So Marco Rubio says Mike Needham for the Secretary of State. JD Vance says my guy is Andy Baker. Tulsi Gabbard says my guy is Joe Kent. Scott B says Scott Besson says Dan Katz is my guy. Pete Hexa says Dan Galwell for Department of Defense. Brian says just come to me. Or maybe you're not. I don't know who. NSC. Yeah. Okay. So that's how things got started here. Let's just and most of this is nothing. Big fat nothing. So I don't even want to waste the time with the nothings. Okay, because we went through most of the chat going through the article there. I think we can scroll down. We'll scroll down to the Signal continuing this. We went through how JD Vance has said I'm tired of bailing out Europe. The Suez Canal that we're looking to protect here is 3% American, is used 3% of the time for American shipping and 40% by the EU. Why the hell can't they take care of their own friggin' mess? That's a statement which has become a big ooh. I actually think it's the most freaking base thing in the world for him to say. So let's just call this. All right. So Michael Waltz saying, as we stand in the first PC, we have a fundamental decision of allowing the sea lanes to remain closed or to reopen them now or later. We are the only ones who with the capability, unfortunately, from the messaging standpoint, we absolutely add this to horribles on why the Europeans must invest in their defense. Okay. Let me do it this way because this is just not good. JD Vance says, if you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing them out. Let's just make sure our messaging is tight here. Pete Heggs says, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic, but Mike is correct. We're the only ones on the planet on our side of the ledger who can do this. Nobody else even close. Question is timing. I feel like now is a good time as any. And given POTUS directed to reopen shipping lanes, I think we should go, but POTUS will still retains 24 hours of space. Stephen Miller then says, as I heard it, President was clear, green light, but we soon make clear to Egypt and Europe what we expect in return, meaning pony up, I assume, and that in the future you'll take care of your own mess. Europe doesn't remunerate, then what? If the U.S. successfully restores freedom of navigation at great cost, there needs to be some further economic gain extracted in return. Tired of bailing them out for nothing. Pete Hexas says, I agree. I'm good with that. That makes sense. And now this top one here is the one everyone's going nuts about. Here, Pete Hegseth seems to be talking about the actual strike on the Houthis. Now you're gonna have to. Is this considered confidential information or not? There are some people who say no, this is not confidential information. And here's why. This is what it says. Team update. Time now 11:44 Eastern time. Weather is favorable. Just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are go for mission launch. 12:15 Eastern time. F-18s launch first strike. Package. 13:45, that's Army time, that's 1:45. Trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts. Target terrorist is at his no location, so should be on time. Also, strike drones launch MQ-9s. Now we're talking about what type of weaponry we're going to be using here, which a lot of people think that's a big deal. More at 2:10 p.m., more F-18s launch, second strike package, 2:15 strike drones on target. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop pending earlier trigger-based targets. 3:36 F-18 second strike starts. Also, first sea-based Tomahawks launched. More to follow per timeline. We're currently clean on OPSEC. Godspeed to our warriors. J.D. Vance says, I'll say a prayer for victory. This guy, it's like he's as based in private, clearly, as he is in public. JD Vance looks like just like, oh my God, I want him to be. He. Thank God he's the current heir apparent to Trump, because he looks great. He really does. He looks great. Everything he says, even in private, looks great. Michael Waltz, BP, building collapsed, had multiple positive ID. Pete Carilla, the IC, amazing job. Now, here's one of the things I want to point out. And J. Vance says, what? And Michael Waltz, sorry, typing too fast. The first target, their top missile guy, we had positive idea of him walking into his girlfriend's building, and it's now collapsed. J. Vance says, excellent. And gives a little fist pump. Fire for America. Good job, Pete and your team. From Marco Rubio. Michael Waltz saying the team in MAL did a great job as well. As soon as Mar-a-Lago. Stephen Miller says, great work, all powerful start. Pete Hegseth says, CENTCOM is on point. Great job, all. More strikes ongoing for hours tonight. We'll provide full initial report tomorrow, but on time, on target, and good readout so far. Kudos to all, most particularly those in theater and CENTCOM. Really great. God bless. That's Susie Wiles. Okay. So this right here has everyone all a buzz. All a buzz. Now, the reason to say that the argument to say that this is not confidential, is because while time is given here, there is zero indication of who the target is, where the target's located. It just says we got our first strike. And this is when we're going to be striking, and this is who we're going to be striking. Well, not who we're going to be striking. It just says this is the time, this is the when and the how, but not the who and the what. So if you are the target of this strike and you got this, would it affect you? Maybe. You can make an argument it would, because if especially if you got everything before then, they're talking about the Houthis, that you're one of the top 10 people that they're likely to be coming after. Yeah, that could affect you. That definitely could affect you. Especially oh, okay, I know where everyone thinks I'm supposed to be. I'm going to make sure I'm somewhere else. I think that's a fair claim. Whether that rises to the level of confidential or it's considered sensitive, I'm not sure where that demarcation is. But someone tells me this seems pretty confidential. You can't tell me that that's a crazy take. You can't say that. I mean, they're saying exactly what type they're saying F-18s and strike drones. You can't tell me that this is something that they would have. Okay, there's no way they would have posted this on X, right? I think every one of us can agree There's no way that hours beforehand this gets posted by any of these fine people on X, right? So in that sense, if it's not something you want to disclose with the public, and now you have this member of the public who's sitting there in your chat room, you can understand why this is a bit of an embarrassing story. It's bad enough they're talking about should we do it, but now you have Pete Hegseth here giving the team an update as to how and when. Not who, not where, but how and when. It would be much, much worse, in my opinion, if it said who and where, but how and when. To pretend that that's nothing, that's like not any information. I don't think you're being. Imagine if this happened to Biden, we would be going nuts. We would be. We'd be going nuts at this. We would be making the same stink that they're making today. We would be. We would be screaming about how Biden is incompetent, his staff is incompetent. If you're claiming otherwise, you're not being realistic. You can't. I think you're doing a poor job looking into your own heart. So no one likes this look. This is not a good look. The question becomes, though, what to do now. What is appropriate at this stage? Now we know everything that was shared in this chat. The question becomes what to do now. And in order to assess that, the first thing is you have to assess what is the screw up. One of the things that people say is the screw up is that they were using Signal at all. And we're going to get into why Signal should perhaps have been a red flag. Maybe, maybe not. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about the sloppiness of Jeffrey Goldberg coming in here. And was it really sloppy, or potentially was it not at all sloppy? And perhaps this is a setup. So we're going to talk about that, because I think there's a lot to break down here. A lot. Let me get to some of these chats, and I'm going to get on into that. Thank you, Michelle. Very kind of you. Something's wrong. One of you shouldn't be here. As a combat vet, I agree. Let the world solve its own problems for a while. Let's see how well they have it then. Yeah, it would be better. Darkborn hit me with a 50. Joe, I'm retired Army who had secret and top secret clearance. At best, that info is CUI, controlled unclassified information, or FOUO, for official use only. Nothing classified in there. Dems are reaching, and the journalist is a Democrat hack and a liar. Interesting. That's very helpful. Thank you, Darkborn. Thank you. And thank you for the generous super chat. So the classification here is important. It is important because they've been drilled already, and it had to answer questions on the fly. And that's actually, you're telling me that that's not considered top secret clearance. That's considered CUI, controlled unclassified information, or for official use only. I'm curious, what are the demarcations of that distinction? Is it that it doesn't have the name of the target and the location? If the name and location were there, would that then become top secret? Like, what makes something elevate up to top secret from controlled unclassified information? And is the probably is classified and then top secret being above classified? I don't know. I would imagine, that there's different levels. Joe, our operators use Signal and talk like this all the time about terrorist targets. I have family in the teams. The issues are reported in the chat, not the content. Signal is always used. We'll talk about that. Hey, an Alaskan lawyer. Look at that. Wow. The world is your oyster. You got that whole big geography to cover there. Alaskan lawyer. Wow. You're like 5 hours behind, right? So it's like dinner time by you, because it's 11:02 here. So, welcome, Winston. Thank you so much. All right. So now, the idiocy just goes on and on. The person who put this together is this guy, Alex Wong, over here. He's the one who put everything together. And he works for Mike Waltz. So, typical Democrat shill, Brian Krasenstein, pretending this is really terrible. And there's a lot of distinctions here about this. There's a lot of different takes on this. But let's get to what everyone is saying, so we can get a better picture instead of seeing internet folk talking about it. Let's start with this. This is Barstool dude, Dave Portnoy, who somehow became political at some point over the last 7 years. And yeah, so this is Dave Portnoy weighing in here. He tends to be right-leaning.
All right, incoming political rant. If you don't like political rants, keep it moving. I don't blame you. This Houthis Signal group chat, the Atlantic controversy. I'll try to catch you up real quick. So basically, the U.S. launched an attack on the Houthis a couple days ago, terrorist group, successful attack, killed a bunch of them, very successful by all nature, opened up like the passageway for ships and cargo ships that were being terrorized. So successful attack. Well, comes out after the fact that Jeffrey Goldberg, who's the editor of The Atlantic. The Atlantic is a magazine that basically hates Trump, hates the left, hates people like me. Think Business Insider, think New York Times, think New York Magazine, all the heavy left-leaning media organizations. The Atlantic is one of them. Like, I hate them. Trump hates them. They hate Trump. They probably hate me. So the editor, Jeffrey Goldberg, comes out after. He's like, hey, morons, you guys included me on a Signal group chat with sensitive classified information discussing the Houthis attack before it happened. Pete Hegseth's immediate reaction is like, no, that never happened. We didn't leak any classified information. No classified information in there. And Jeffrey Goldberg released all the text in the Signal group chat. And guess what? It's super sensitive. It's super classified.
It's not super classified. He doesn't know what he's talking about based on what at least Darkborn is saying here. That it's not super classified. It's the sort of thing the public will think is classified. I, as not being a part of the, having no military background, would have assumed that something like that would be classified. But apparently there are different distinctions.
It's surreal that these guys added Jeffrey Goldberg to this group chat. I mean, they were talking about the attack, leading up to the attack, all the way to a couple hours, when they're going to do it, the time, the weather, you name it. And if this information somehow got out to the Houthis, and I assume in situations like this, things move at the speed of light, lots of American soldiers could have died, lives in jeopardy. So to me, a major glitch in intelligence and just a huge mistake. It looked like Michael Waltz, the national security advisor to the president, added Jeffrey Goldberg to the group chat by accident. And J.D. Vance.
This is factually inaccurate. So this part he's saying here is factually inaccurate. Let's get the clip of Michael Waltz talking about this, where I actually think the way he's handled this is pretty good. Pretty good. Where are you?
Time ago, or one or two more.
This wasn't it.
I've called on you. Thank you.
That's not it.
National news.
All right, I got this one. I thought I had two. I have two with Michael Waltz. One was yesterday, one was today. I don't know why I don't see yesterday's. Yesterday's is the one I wanted first. But let's get him today on Fox News.
It's embarrassing,
Right.
yes. We're going to get to the bottom of it. I just talked to Elon on the way here. We've got the best technical minds looking at how this happened. But I can tell you for 100%, I don't know this guy. I know him by his horrible reputation, and he really is the bottom scum of journalists. And I know him in the sense that he hates the president, but I don't text him. He wasn't on my phone. Look, I take full responsibility. I built the group. My job is to make sure everything's coordinated.
But how did the
execute?
number? I mean, I don't mean to be pedantic here, but how did the number?
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name, and then you have somebody else's number
never
there?
make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this loser in the group.
So apparently, Alex Wong, who's the one who put this together, and he was too classy to actually call out Alex Wong by name there on Fox News. But Alex Wong is the one who works for him, is the one who put together that group. It's Alex Wong who had Jeffrey Goldberg's number. Alex Wong, who put in someone else's number as Jeffrey Goldberg. At least that's what we're supposed to believe right now. And we'll get to the Laura Loomer thing in just a few moments. But I actually think that Mike Waltz there handled that the way you want people to handle it. That like him, he's basically saying the buck stops here. In the clip I had of him yesterday, which I don't know why I can't pull it up now, just to make you alert, he basically was blasting the left for implying that it had anything to do with Trump and that this has nothing to do with Donald Trump himself. So the only messaging we've gotten from Mike Waltz on this whole story is this is on me. And I'll tell you right now, I like him more today than I did yesterday or the day before. I didn't like him so much as a pick when he first was selected for his role in national security. And now I do. I like him a lot more. He was a career rhino, and I still don't necessarily trust him. He was one of the few people who Trump selected to and gave a prestigious job to, who I had concerns about. Most of his selections were grade A, but that was one I was really bothered by, and he came through in a crisis moment looking like a leader. You want leaders in these positions of leadership. You want people who have the maturity and the backbone and the bravery to stand up there and take the fire and say, this is on me, even though it's a member of his staff. I shared with you all a story of Trump when he was dealing with that guy from Pawn Stars that was left off the Secret Service list, and a great story about Trump where Donald Trump got on the phone with him himself and was apologetic, saying, I'm sorry. Obviously, I'm not the one who makes these lists, but it's my staff. It's on me. And that's exactly what Mike Waltz is doing here. So to the way he's handling this crisis, I say about Mike Waltz, kudos. And I'm much more impressed with him today than I was a week ago. Because you have a staffer screwed up. Very clearly screwed up. He's accepting responsibility. A lot of folks saying he should get fired. People saying Pete Hegseth should be fired. That is retarded. That doesn't make any sense at all to say that where is Pete Hegseth supposed to assume that there's some sort of problem here? Now, there is a potential issue. One of the things that's going on with respect to the whole Signal thing, that a lot of you are saying that Signal is fine. There's no reason to be concerned about Signal. Why would anyone have a problem with Signal? A lot of people have been saying that. Let me share with you why it is that folks are saying that they should have known. They should have known, and that there's a potential problem with Signal, and that's because this came out recently. Now, I'm not sure when they say recently whether it's very recent, it's after this breach happened or not, because the breach happened 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. And I think I saw that this came out March 18th. So I'm not sure about the timing on this, but a lot of people want to point to this, that there was this OPSEC special bulletin which talks about signal vulnerability. A vulnerability has been identified in the Signal Messenger application. The use of Signal by common targets of surveillance and espionage activity has made the application a high-value target to intercept sensitive information. Russian professional hacking groups are employing the linked devices feature to spy on encrypted conversations. The feature allows the chat and voice messenger application to be utilized on multiple devices concurrently. The hacking groups embed malicious or codes in phishing pages or conceal them in group invite links. After gaining access via the malicious code, the groups add their own devices as a linked device. This allows the group to view every message sent by the unwitting user in real time, bypassing the end-to-end encryption. So basically, they're using your device to circumvent what other safeguards Signal may have. Steps to safeguard your SIG application are on the following pages, which this implies that there's a way to fix it. So I don't know why people are saying, well, Signal is no good. It's just a matter of you have to take certain steps to safeguard it. The pages are unclassified and can be printed for use outside of SCIF spaces. Please note third-party messaging apps like Signal are permitted by policy for unclassified accountability recall exercises, but are not approved to process or store non-public unclassified information, e.g. protected FOUO, CUI, etc. So, and this is an interesting thing. So if it's unclassified, that would be okay. Now, to be fair here, if you want to have a fair criticism, and let's try to look at this as objectively as we can, step outside of our normal political perspectives, based on what Darkborn is saying here, that this is at best that info is classified as controlled unclassified information, or FOUO, and it seems as if FOUO or CUI it's not approved to process or store. To process or store. I'm not sure whether process or store means have a conversation or keep your conversation there. Any use or application must abide by DoD and NSA CSS policy. Please view the policy 6.6 for guidance and requirements on this subject matter. So this could be a potential issue, right? So if in fact this is qualified as a CUI or an FOUO, which I understand Darkborn says is not labeling it that, but he's saying it could be classified, it could be labeled CUI, it could be labeled FOUO. So this here is saying, yeah, don't use it. At least don't use it to process or store that type of information. I would think process includes having a group chat. That's how I would understand process. So I'm trying to be real with you all here, as far as because initially I was like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with Signal. Apparently that's what Biden was using. Maybe Biden was using it, and that doesn't explain using it even after seeing this new bulletin that came out. When did this bulletin come out? That's a really important question. Let me check out when this bulletin came out so we can get the timing on this correct, because that becomes a very critical question here, I think. If the bulletin came out afterwards, OPSEC special. Let's see if we can pull this up. Bulletin F9T53. It was March 18th. See, that's Lady Logic's birthday, so that's how I remember it. I saw it. So these chats, if we go open up the Atlantic Jeffrey Goldberg article, I think he's saying that those chats started. Well, what was the attack on the Houthis? It was a couple of days ago. I'm trying to steel man both sides here so we can have like a better feel, at least, for what folks are saying. When was let's pull up Jeffrey Goldberg. So the bombing was actually on March 15th. Bombing was on March 15th. Yeah, so that whole that OPSEC bulletin is irrelevant. That OPSEC bulletin is irrelevant. So at the time they were having the chat, even when Pete Hegseth is sending his thing out, there's no bulletin warning them that there's a particular problem discovered with Signal. So I don't think that the bulletin is relevant. But at least now we know what people are saying, and if someone throws that bulletin at you, you can say the bulletin came out after that whole conversation was completed. So what are you talking about? Why would they be following a bulletin? They have no way of knowing. So now the fact that they're using it for FOUO or CUI is not a problem for Pete Hegseth to be sharing that type of information. Because until that bulletin comes out, presumably people were using Signal for that. See, we're learning. We're learning together. Let me get to some of these chats here. I think it was intentional, completely consumed both intelligence hearings, that it conveniently leaked right before, whether that was the intention. Kathy telling me the Loomer poster in my DM, Trump should hire her, vet people for him. Honestly, she's so darn good at it. I think it might be easier for her to do it once they become quasi celebrities by getting appointed. Like, it's easier for her to find information about them because she has the whole. Once the person gets tabbed for a job, then you have the entire internet scouring. I don't know if she has her own investigative body, but every once in a while she breaks something interesting, that's for sure. I'm still waiting to hear what the detrimental effect was to any American or how our security was harmed. I'm seeing nada. You're 100% correct in that. You're 100% correct in that. And especially when you consider how there was, the left was the hypocrisy because of, nothing happened when there's 13 dead soldiers in Afghanistan, and because of those screw ups, and they're freaking out when all we had was a successful raid. We had a successful bombing of the Houthis, and they're trying to turn it as if this is some sort of Shanda. Shanda is German for disgrace. Even if Atlantic published chat before the attack, what could Yemen have done to stop the attack with the information? They don't have air defense. Yeah, I thought the same thing also. I guess he could have, if the person, imagine the guy who was targeted was the person who was accidentally added, because the problem with adding in some rando is we have to assume that the person who's the rando is the very person you're talking about, or close enough to them that as soon as you send it, the person's going to know about it 3 seconds later. That's to assess fairly. So, yeah, I mean, if it was you, if whatever cave that guy's living in, he's like, all right, I'm moving out of my cave for a week. That's what he would do. So it would jeopardize the mission more than jeopardizing American lives. But Dems thrive on chaos. Funny how this happens right as Dems are being steamrolled. Oh yeah. Well, we're going to talk about some of the theories that people have. Look up Wong and his wife's professional history. All right. People want me to look up Wong and his professional history. Kathy has been kind enough to share with me. Some of the where is it? Kathy. There it is. Let's talk a little bit about Jeffrey Wong. Let's get to that. SecDef is a classifying authority. A didn't realize who else was on, and there's no way he could have. There's no way. That's what's so stupid about this. There's no way he could have, because the person was not being identified as Jeffrey Goldberg, according to what the early reports are here. By the way, we don't know that Jeffrey Goldberg was there. What I mean by that is, do we know that Jeffrey Goldberg was there, or perhaps some rando was there, and that rando contacted Jeffrey Goldberg, so Jeffrey Goldberg decided to insert himself into the story? This is a possibility, and give it more credibility. Like, look what I got. When what he got was someone rando was added in there, and that rando is friends with Jeffrey Goldberg, or reached out to the Atlantic saying, hey, look at this, we got the goods on Trump. And Jeffrey Goldberg was like, well, this story reads a lot better if I can write this and claim it was me who was added in there. That's very possible. So A, didn't realize who else was there. B, he didn't care. C, it wasn't classified info. And what about the ethics of listening in on what they believe is classified? Well, he tries to cover himself on that by claiming, as soon as I realized that this was a real group rather than it was some fake group trolling me, I left. And you're thinking to yourself, and if it was a fake group trolling you, you stay? Like, why would you stay? Do you stick around and open up DMs from fake people and hang out there in a group chat for a week? Who does that? I wouldn't do that. So yeah, the whole Jeffrey Goldberg story here is shady AF. Who and how included Goldberg is the key. Well, that's Alex Wong. Actual message is nothing burger, because Trump said on TV, we hit Houthis. We all know F-18s and drones are used now. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a fair point. The thing is that SecDef has classification authority for military matters also, so if he say it wasn't any of those, it's not. Oh, because he's the one who, that's a fair point, Darkborn. He's like, if he's saying it's not top secret, that makes it not top secret. There you go. Partner nations were also informed at time of update. Can't be classified at that point either. Good. Also, another great point. If we're telling the target nations that we're doing it, how secure is it at that point? Let's see what Kathy has gotten me here. She was digging into Laura Loomer and her expose on Alex Wong, the guy who added the Jeffrey Goldberg account in there. When President Trump was asked how Jeffrey Goldberg was added to SignalChat, Trump said it was one of Michael's people on the phone. A staffer had his number on there. That appears to be a reference to Mike Waltz's Deputy National Security Advisor, Alex Wong. I wonder what type of vetting was done to Alex Wong and his wife. This is very concerning. Alex Wong, the Chinese Deputy National Security Advisor appointed by President Trump, who's at the center of the SignalGate scandal, is married to U.S. Attorney Candace Xiu Wang, a Chinese woman who is one of the key attorneys involved in prosecuting J6ers. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How? How? Why? 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 It's like the same. It's not even like new snakes. It's the same snakes. who just keep turning up again. Alex Wong was appointed by President Trump on 11/22/24 to serve as the assistant to the president and principal deputy national security advisor under Mike Waltz, the newly appointed U.S. national security advisor. Yeah, this guy needs to be fired, like yesterday. I discovered that Alex's wife, Candace Chiu Wong, worked under the Obama administration and Biden administration as an assistant United States attorney in the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia, where she led the violence reduction and trafficking offenses section for more than 2 years. She's involved in prosecution of many J6ers during the Biden regime, under which she was nominated to become a member of the United States Sentencing Commission. Additionally, Candace Chiu Wong served as a law clerk to Obama-appointed U.S. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. This just gets better and better. She was clerking for Sotomayor. Wonderful. Making matters worse, Alex Wong worked for Covington and Burling. Oh, my God. Which is one of the law firms that President recently stripped of its security clearance and terminated all of their government contracts by executive order on February 25th. Trump accused Covington of being involved in the weaponization of government. Why do we have a Chinese deputy national security advisor who's married to a Chinese U.S. attorney who worked under Obama and Biden who helped prosecute J6ers after the stolen 2020 election? Unacceptable. And given the Chinese connections, it really makes you wonder if Jeffrey Goldberg, the reporter from The Atlantic, was added to the Trump Signal chat on purpose as part of the foreign op to embarrass the Trump administration on behalf of China. That's a fair question right now. That becomes a fair question. Wong should be removed from his position. Both he and his wife should be investigated by the FBI. Wow. Mike Waltz saying, I'm thrilled to have Alex Wong in the NSC as President Trump's personal principal deputy national. This guy needs to be fired and investigated. I agree with Laura Loomer on this 100%. I was saying the guy needs to be fired before I knew anything about his wife's connections, his history here. Everything about this guy stinks to high heaven. My God, how is he still on payroll? How does he still have access to secure documents? I was thinking that even if he didn't have any of these problems, this guy should be fired for the clumsiness of what he did here. I mean, this could have been much, much worse. Unbelievable. The bride, 31, is now a litigation associate at Bancroft and Washington law firm, daughter of Mei-Ling Fang and Yahui Chu of Ridgewood, New Jersey. Bride's father retired as a senior manager at satellite operations at AsiaSat in Hong Kong. Mother retired as a dietitian at Grand. Okay, whatever. Candace C. Wong, his wife, served from 2015 to 2024 as an assistant United States attorney for the U.S. Attorney's Offices for D.C. He led the violence restoration. Worked clerk for Sonia Sotomayor. There's Loomer bringing the receipts on what she's claiming there. More receipts. 2 law students tied the knot at DAR, Constitution Hall. Candace Chiu, Alex Wong. Candace C. Wong, United States Sentencing Commission. Alex Wong. And there you have your 2 folks there. When President Trump was asked how Jeffrey Goldberg was added to the Signal chat, Trump said it was one of Michael's people on the phone. A staffer had his number on there. And you ask yourself, why would a staffer have Jeffrey Goldberg? Well, now you know that staffer would. Appears to be a reference to Mike Waltz. Additionally, Alex Wong serves Foreign and Legal Policy Director for the Mitt Romney presidential campaign in 2012. By that position, Wong was the campaign's chief official responsible for developing foreign defense, intelligence, judicial, and law enforcement policy. You see, that this here, Mitt Romney, this here, right here. I told you Mike Waltz was a rhino, and he runs in rhino circles, and that's how he found this guy, who at best is a rhino. At worst, he's much worse. But at best, he's a rhino, and many of these rhinos despise Trump. My God. Wow. Here's the proof she was involved in prosecuting the J6ers. At Wednesday's hearing, Alam repeatedly said he wanted U.S. Attorney Candace Chu Wong to offer him a deal and told her to start doing her job. Judge Dabney Friedrich informed Alam the prosecutors weren't required to offer him a deal, but Wong said she was happy to start that process. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Anyhow, thank you, Kathy. I think we got enough here on Wong. That was very helpful, very informative. Thank you. And kudos to Laura Loomer on this one. Kudos to Laura Loomer. Joe, I saw earlier that Judge Boasberg was signed to the signal to the typo story lawsuit saying President Trump violated federal record-keeping law when they used Signal to discuss this. I saw Boasberg was assigned also. That's correct. I don't know how they're bringing a civil suit. Like, I don't even understand the nature of that. I want to look at that lawsuit. I saw he was assigned to a case also. They had this thing ready to go. Two Wongs don't make a white. This is definitely true. This is definitely true. Let's talk a little bit more about some theories here, because I promised you theories. So one theory is that Wong was behind this, did this on purpose. One theory is that Wong did this on purpose. Another is that Wong was just clumsy. And then I saw this theory from somebody who no one ever heard of before, but it seemed interesting. So I'm bringing it to you because it was of interest to me. This is in response to El Presidente of Barstool. I didn't finish his thing, did I? I don't think I did.
But this,
let me just finish his thing.
Has been to kind of poo-poo it. Be like, there was no classified information in there. Trump's like, how did Jeffrey Goldberg get in there? Like, did he hack it? Did he get in there? He didn't stay very long. The Atlantic is a horrible organization and a terrible magazine, which they are, and I hate them. And by the way, if Jeffrey Goldberg, he didn't hack it, he got added. But if he did hack it, that's almost more dangerous than somebody like Jeffrey Goldberg. If he can hack the most sensitive group chats, what are our enemies doing?
What if a hacker did it and then gave it to Jeffrey Goldberg? And Jeffrey Goldberg said, oh, yeah, that was me. I was added by accident.
Trump, I get being loyal to your people. I don't like firing people on innocent mistakes that they make. But this, and I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, you're mad about this, but we had a president like Biden with dementia who had the nuclear codes. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. That wasn't right then, and this isn't right now. In this new administration, you want to take accountability. Trump, you may love Michael Waltz. You love Pete Hesketh. You may love these guys.
It's got nothing to do with
somebody has to go down. To me, it's Michael Waltz. He's the one who added him to this conversation.
No, he's not.
But you can't have
Alex Wong,
the top of the top security people in the United States with the most sensitive.
It's Alex Wong. I thought he was an underling. I didn't realize he's the assistant to Mike Waltz. That changes the whole thing here. That's a big enough head now to roll. That's the perfect head to roll.
Information in the world, adding random editors of a magazine that hates Trump's guts to a group chat talking about an attack before it happens on a terrorist group. You can't poo-poo it. You can't downplay it. You have to sit up there and be like, holy shit, this is a fuck up of epic proportions.
No, it's not.
There will be accountability. I will get to the bottom.
It's a screw up that's embarrassing because of its publicity. when I was talking to Matt Tardio, he made a point today, which he's like, do you know how many security breaches there are every freaking day? There are always security breaches. And that's likely true. That's likely true. But when a security breach of this nature goes public, that is not just, you can't politically, you can't just say, oh, it's no big deal, because that makes it seem as if you're okay with security breaches. And that breeds a lack of confidence, properly so. It breeds a lack of competence or care about making sure that the job is being done properly. If there's a million screw ups and no one knows about it, that's terrible. That's a disaster. That's a utter failure. If there are 100 screw ups, that's 100 too many. But I understand there's human error and there will be screw ups. Every administration likely has had them on a regular basis. That's part of, because there are humans involved here, and even at doing their best, they're going to screw up sometimes. But when it becomes this public, to pretend or act as if it's no big deal has an impact where the public says, do you actually care about doing your job properly and making sure that there's no screw-ups? Because the public doesn't know about those routine screw-ups. They don't know about that. As far as they know, this is the only breach of national security in American history since Benedict Arnold. I mean, or other people who were convicted that they can point to. But this is a terrible, terrible, terrible breach. And the worst breach ever by heads of state. So that's how they're all looking at this. And that's why, to pretend that, like, well, this happens all the time, so we're not going to do anything. Perhaps you change your policies. This is what you need to do, okay? You need to show that you're dealing with this. You need to show that you do take this seriously, because otherwise people will think that you're not fulfilling your duty of care. And it's of the utmost importance not just to engage in a duty of care, but to give the perception of ensuring that you're fulfilling your duty of care. It's a very important thing for the President of the United States. It's a very important thing for our defense, our entire defense team, that American public has confidence in them. And they can understand that, hey, there's a screw up. And screw-ups are unfortunate. And when that happens, first and foremost, the person who screwed up, like directly screwed up, in this case, Alex Wong, is the head that should roll. Everyone else who's on that chat doesn't know that Alex Wong made this screw-up. Alex Wong perhaps didn't know himself, but he is the one who made that screw-up. So putting aside all the questions we may have about Alex Wong and whether he's acting nefariously or just out of stupidity, at the end of the day, either his competence or his credibility, his integrity, are now the cause of this fiasco, where it looks as if our Defense Department would just willy-nilly allow anyone to wander into to meetings that the public perceives we shouldn't be there for this. The public should not be aware of this. No one from the public should be aware of this. It's stuff that you would not be talking about posting on X. So whatever level of clearance, whether it's COUO or FOUO or CUI, whatever level it is, it's beyond what the public usually gets a glimpse of. And someone was clumsy. And in this case, we know who the clumsy person was, and that was Alex Wong. And that's why Wong has to go. He has to go. Just so you show, look, I understand you screwed up. It sucks for you, but you screwed up. And this was just, we can't have someone who screws up. You also should change your policy and make clear that, hey, from now on, when we're going to have two people assigned to double check the information of who's been added into chats. That's their duty. That's their job. That before there's any communication. Although, frankly, with the Signal thing, the information that came out on March 18th, I assume they're not going to be using Signal anymore. But you say that there's some updated policy to ensure that this never happens again. First, you do an investigation so we can verify exactly what happened here and try and glean intent and whether this was stupidity or whether it was a lack of integrity or it's a lack of competence. Then once we get to that, and perhaps it was a hack. I don't know. Maybe some hacker got in there. Because let's look at this. Let's look at this next story here. This next perspective, which I think is an interesting perspective. Dude, you probably should wait a little longer before you posted this. I know politics aren't your specialty, but it seems you forget how devious these people are. It looks like it was hacked. And then they attach Goldberg's number to a different name. CIA, NSA, any intelligence agency could have done it and have done it. The NSA hacked Tucker's Signal account. This was released the day before the SIC hearing. They already have a lawsuit ready to go, which is true. They had a lawsuit ready to go. Presto, bingo. And guess what? Randomly assigned Judge Atlanta with none other than Judge James Boasberg. It was coordinated op designed to derail the Trump administration. They have nothing else to stop what's coming. The Democratic Party is going extinct, and they know it. There's a lot here that makes sense to me. There's a lot here that I'm like, yeah. Do I know that this is what happened? No. But does this make sense? It makes a hell of a lot of sense. Even if this was done that way, you cannot proceed acting as if this version of events is certainly fact. So the first thing you need to do is you need to conduct an investigation. And if there was a hacking, in that case, you need to prosecute people for the hack. And if this guy here was lying in his article there, then you definitely want to be prosecuting him for sharing this information. I can guarantee you part of his defense team's strategy, Jeffrey Goldberg's, if he gets prosecuted, I mentioned yesterday under 18 USC 793E that he should be prosecuted, that if you have unauthorized access to confidential information and you share it with another, that you can be facing fines and imprisonment of up to 10 years. And that he seems ripe for that. And I'll tell you right now, if he got it from someone else and then passed it along, I think that makes it even worse personally. And there's probably a few other statutes that could be thrown at him. So you definitely, I want Kash Patel and his team, the FBI, looking all over this, how that guy got in there. Looking Alex Wong up and down. And Alex Wong should be put on immediate leave, suspended until pending further investigation. You come out with your investigative report. This is what we found. This is what happened. This is who was in there. Was it Jeffrey Goldberg? Was it someone else? How they got in there? Was it a hack? Were they brought in there by Alex Wong? This is what we know about Alex Wong. And this is the punishment, that is that we're removing him now from having access to sensitive materials, and we're going to be reassigning him, or better yet, firing his ass and getting rid of him. And here are the changes in policy. It shows that you're taking this seriously, even if all of this was leftist shenanigans. If every word of this is true, you still need to go through all of those steps. The reason you need to go through all those steps is because you're not trying to explain to MAGA what happened. You're trying to explain to people who are not following the news on a daily basis, and show Americans who are swaying back and forth between I like Trump or I don't like Trump, into understanding that this is a president and an administration who takes their duty of care very, very seriously. Very seriously. They understand the gravity and significance of the work they are doing, and that's why they're not tolerant of security breach, whether it's instituted by the CIA or some DNC operative, or Alex Wong intentionally, or some rhino, or some Lincoln Project dude, or some hacker, whatever it is, or some clumsiness of a rhino. That we take this seriously. It's essential that they convey that, rather than saying, it's no biggie. I don't like that it's no biggie thing. I don't like that answer. It's not a good answer, because that's not going to make a major part of the president's role is not just do all the amazing things that Trump has done, but to inspire confidence in American people that you're going to be doing your job effectively and well. And that's how you do it. And the public understands mistakes happen. But what are you doing from these mistakes? Where do you go from these mistakes? And that's how you cut the legs off of the Democrats on all this story. You cut the legs out of this story. Fenton, thank you so much for your super chat. I have a lot of clips I want to share with you. What would have been topics discussed in the intelligence hearings had this not happened? Epstein, JFK, Diddy? I don't know. These are good questions. Last night, where I haven't seen clips from you in ages. Ages. Do I stink? Is that what it is? Do I stink? This guy last night on the following, his name is last night on the following program, has made some phenomenal clips of me. It wasn't profitable, right? No, everyone's like, why am I getting these shorts? He did some phenomenal work. I was in military intel when I was a soldier. This sounds like a bunch of G-men talking. The lurker should not have been there, but war plans? Thank you for a second chat, Benton. Appreciate that. Does Siri have security clearance? I don't know. Maybe. I'm surprised this wasn't blamed on the juice. Yeah, somehow it wasn't. Somehow this one didn't come back to us. How did that happen? Oh my God, I miss Barb Loves Alaska. Per Paul Sperry on X, new FEC records for ex-Cheney aide Michael Waltz, now Trump's national security advisor, accidentally linked to the Atlantic, show he's contributed $8,150 to Never Trumpers. I told you I don't trust Michael Waltz. I told you. I don't trust him. Honestly, if his head rolls, I'll be okay with it. But I do like the way he handled this situation. Johnny Reb says, yeah, 10 o'clock sharp. I thought you were Jewish, not black, Joe. Excuse me. We actually, there's a reference to like showing up late and it was being referred to as Jewish time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My mother, rest her soul, taught me that. Really. Yeah, respond to the diggers. There you go. The live chat with diggers. All right, I have a lot to share with you all. I take your point, but raise you, General Flynn. They follow that by the book, and now they want a special counsel to investigate. It sounds very familiar. Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. That's why you hold it yourself. Oh, this is the clip that I had. This was from yesterday. I knew I had something from yesterday. This was Trump yesterday, meaning Tuesday.
App, if you want to call it an app, that a lot of people use, a lot of people in government use, a lot of people in the media use. And I think I'll ask Mike. Mike is here. Do you want to respond to that, please?
Yes, Mr. President. You asked about lessons. I think there's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president, whether it's the Russia hoax or making up lies about Gold Star families. And this one in particular, I've never met, don't know, never communicated with. And we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor. Under Biden, global shipping was shut down. Pinprick attacks, months between them, our destroyers being fired upon dozens of times. President Trump took decisive action with his national security team, took out the head missileer, knocked out missiles, knocked out headquarters, knocked out communication sites. And for once, as we hear, as you all hear from every one of our allies, thank God for American leadership again. Thank God for American strength. You're welcome. We had a national security team that was coordinating these efforts. As Director Radcliffe testified today, his first day on the job, he was introduced to this app on his government systems at the CIA and at the State Department and otherwise. So, look, this journalist, Mr. President, wants the world talking about more hoaxes and this kind of nonsense rather than the freedom that you're enabling. And a key part of our sovereignty is open sea lanes and knocking the crap out of terrorists, which is exactly what your team and Pete Hegseth, a good friend and fellow veteran, is leading the charge on. And it's an honor.
We had a very, very successful,
So that was yesterday. That was Tuesday. Today, he accepted responsibility for it, said it's on me. A lot of people are saying CIA op all the way, no question. It says 10,000 likes. Phone number in the context of an unknown device attributed to someone else's name was how Jeffrey Goldberg was invited. This is Trump answering questions. I think this one's about about JD Vance. This one's about JD Vance.
Time ago, one or two more.
What did you make of the vice president's comments that he doesn't like bailing out the Europeans? You agree with that?
Well, I understand where he's coming from. The European Union has been treating us very, very badly in terms of the VAT tax that they charge. They charge a tremendous VAT tax, and they don't sell our cars in Europe. They don't sell our agriculture in Europe. They don't let us do very much. They treat us very badly. One of the reasons I'm putting tariffs on is that reason. We take millions of their cars, BMW, Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz. We take millions and millions of their cars. They take none. I don't know if they take any of our cars. And they have non-monetary tariffs where it's impossible for us to sell a car almost in Europe. And so I understand what he's saying. And same thing with NATO. When I got involved, these mostly European countries, as you know, we had 28 at the time, and only 7 were paid. And most of them were not paid. 20 some odd countries were not paid, or they were substantially less than they're supposed to be. And the United States was literally making up the difference in Europe, and it's very unfair. So I understand. I didn't know he made that statement, but if he did, I mean, I'm okay with it. It's I complain about it all the time. The European Union treats us horribly on trade, and NATO has treated now. I raised a lot of money for NATO, hundreds of billions of dollars. You were here last week when the Secretary General said without Trump, there wouldn't be a NATO, because I got them to pay money. It was unfair. The United
I like how he says NATO.
United States was paying 80, 90, 100%.
NATO. I don't know. He's from New York. He should be saying NATO, not NATO. But
National Security Advisor has taken full responsibility for this. And the National Security
is
Council
Tulsi
is
today.
conducting an in-depth review.
Notice her tone.
Along with technical experts working to determine.
Yesterday, when Tulsi Gabbard was questioned, she looked like a deer in headlights. Today, she was more prepared.
National Security Advisor has taken full responsibility for this.
Like
and the
what?
National Security Council is conducting an in-depth review along with technical experts working to determine how this reporter was inadvertently added to this chat. The conversation was candid and sensitive, but as the President National Security Advisor stated, no classified information was shared. There were no sources, methods, locations, or war plans that were shared. The President and National Security Advisor Waltz held a press conference yesterday with a clear message. It was a mistake that a reporter was inadvertently added to a Signal chat with high-level national security principals, having a policy discussion about imminent strikes against the Houthis and the effects of the strike.
So there you go. There you go. Let's get to the full event of Trump answering questions about Signal today. He spent a half hour doing that, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Tony, we talked about this. We talked about the all caps, Tony. We've talked about this, Tony. We talked about it. Well, seems like Eddie Haskell over the top praise. Yeah, I had the same thought. I'm like, he's a rhino. He's trying, never Trump supporter. All of a sudden now over the top praise. That's a good call, Kate. All I'm saying is if you let them, they'll drag this out for years. Fire someone to move on. Let Caroline handle all questions going forward. That's not a bad idea. I can handle that. And the person who should be fired should be Alex Wong, the one who did it.
With you today, we just celebrated Women's Day at the White House. It was fantastic, attended by a lot of great women, All women are great. So this is the beginning of Liberation Day in America. We're going to take back just some of the money that has been taken from us by people sitting behind this desk or another desk that's not quite as nice, but they have their choice of 7, as you know. And we're going to charge countries for doing business in our country and taking our jobs, taking our wealth, taking a lot of things.
He's talking about the tariffs that he's throwing on
so much out of our country.
Europe.
Friend and foe, and frankly, friend has been oftentimes much worse than foe. And this is very modest. And what we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We started off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at. And we go to 25%. And basically, as you know, and as you've been saying, not reporting as accurately as it should be reported because it's a massive story. Business is coming back to the United States so that they don't have to pay tariffs. And I think also because of November 5th, the election, they're very happy. AI is coming back to levels that nobody's ever seen before. It's a new, sort of a new business, I guess, when you think about it. But it's plants are going up all over the United States, and many of them have already been started. We're getting early electricity taken care of. We're getting permits very quickly for them, and we're going to make their life very happy. They're coming in with tens of billions of dollars. Individual plants will cost 10, 15, and $20 billion. We're going to let them build electricity generating plants along with their plant, and they can't even believe it. And we're going to get them very quick permits.
You got to blow the horn. This guy's been a member for a year. Keep up. Rock steady.
As I've done always. I did that in Louisiana with 2 LNG plants. I got them one permit in 1 day after waiting 14 years, and the other one in 1 week after waiting for 12 years. But this is very exciting to me. This is the automobile industry, and this will continue to spur growth like you haven't seen. Before I was elected, we were losing all of our plants. They were being built in Mexico and Canada and other places. Now those plants.
I want to move along to the signal part here. So we're gonna skip past him talking about cars and start, and so we can get to the signal. It's supposed to be that. They still talk about cars here. This looks better.
Had Elon come and say, would you do me a favor with the mandate or the electric mandate or anything? He's never asked me for anything.
Sir, also,
Do you think these tariffs will
response
benefit
to
Tesla, sir?
Republican lawmakers who have said today that your administration should take more accountability and not downplay what's happened with Signal that we've seen in these messages today? What
Well,
is
I
the
don't know about
response?
downplaying. The press upplays it. I think it's all a witch hunt. That's all. I think it's a witch hunt. I wasn't involved with it. I wasn't there, but I can tell you the result is unbelievable because the Houthis are looking to do something. They want to know, how do we stop? Can we have peace? The Houthis want peace because they're getting the hell knocked out of them. It's been very, very strong. The Houthis are dying for peace.
Houthis.
They don't want this. And they're bad. Look, they were knocking ships out of the ocean. You know, we had in the Suez Canal, they only have about 20% of the ships going through. They have to go through a different way, which takes weeks of travel. And that really affects commerce. But the Houthis have been hit hard and they want to negotiate peace. But I don't think they're quite.
Do you still believe there was nothing classified that was shared?
Say it?
Do you still believe nothing classified was shared?
Well, that's what I've heard. I don't know. I'm not sure. You'll have to ask the various people involved. I really don't know. I can only tell you this. You know, you don't want to talk about it. The Houthis have been horrible to the world, what they've done.
They're all over him about the signal thing. He's like, let's talk about how I blew up the Houthis. That's what he should do.
A lot of people and knocked down a lot of ships and planes and anything else. You know, it's not just the ships. And they have been hit. They have been hit harder than they've ever been hit. And they want us to stop so badly. and they've got to stop. They've got to say no mas. But I can only say that the attacks, it's attacks every day, every night. It's not just the one. You're talking about one. The attacks have been very successful, even beyond our wildest expectations. We've hit them very hard, very successfully, and we're going to do it for a long time. We're going to keep it going for a long time.
Senate Republicans have said that they would formally ask the administration for an Inspector General report on the Signal issue. Will you agree to that?
It doesn't bother me. I don't know. I want to find if there's any mistake or if Signal doesn't work. It could be that Signal is not very good. It's a company. Maybe it's not very good. I think we'd rather know about it now. There was no harm done because the attack was unbelievably successful that night. And it has been unbelievably successful every single night for the last 4 or 5 nights. So, and that's the thing that you should be talking about. This is something that should have been done by sleepy Joe Biden, but he was asleep at the wheel other than when it came to stealing money, of course. Joe Biden should have done this attack on Yemen, which is basically a certain group within Yemen, the Houthis. And this should have been done by Joe Biden, and it wasn't. And that's caused this world a lot of damage and a lot of problems.
Mike is responsible. But he's also overseeing the investigation to find out what went wrong. Maybe
who's responsible?
Mike Waltz says that he's responsible.
Well, yeah, Mike Waltz. I guess he claimed responsibility. I would imagine it had nothing to do with anyone else. It was Mike, I guess. I don't know. I was told it was Mike. But again, the attacks were.
He's like, you're asking me all these questions. I haven't even looked at this story.
That's ultimately what
he was talking about this for 3 nights in a row.
Mike he took responsibility for it. Say it.
Should Secretary Hegseth consider his position over the Signal?
Hegseth is doing a great job. He had nothing to do with this. Hegseth. How do you bring Hegseth into it? He had nothing to do. Look, it's all a witch hunt.
I love him. Hegseth. Playoffs. Hegseth. Playoffs. Why? What a witch hunt. I love him.
And the greatest companies in the world are moving into the United States, and you want to ask about whether or not Signal works. I don't know that Signal works. I think Signal could be defective, to be honest with you. And I think that's what we have to, because you use Signal and we use Signal and everybody uses Signal, but it could be a defective platform, and we're going to have to find that out.
Mr. President, have you been briefed about soldiers in Lithuania? Have you been briefed about the soldiers in Lithuania who are missing?
No, I haven't.
Mr. President, have you spoken, sir, with the big 3 automakers about these tariffs? What was their reaction?
It depends on whether or not they have factories here. I can tell you, if they have factories here, they're thrilled. If you don't have factories here, they're going to have to get going and build them, because otherwise they have to pay tariffs. Very simple. And most of those have pretty big factories here. Like General Motors has big factories here. They're going to move their parts divisions back to the United States, because some of them were made in Canada and some of them were made in Mexico and other places. They'll be moving their parts division back to the United States in factories where they may be at 60% capacity, so they don't even really have to build too much of a factory. But generally speaking, if they have factories here, plants here, where they make their cars and equipment, but they make their cars here, they are thrilled. Same thing with the steel industry. Steel industry is now paying a 25% tariff, as you know, I put it on last week, and the business is roaring in the United States. And we can't, because of military, we can't lose the steel industry. If I didn't put the initial tariffs on steel in my first term, you wouldn't be able to have a military, because we wouldn't have every steel company would be bankrupt in the United States, and every plant would be closed. But now they're booming and putting this tariff on, this additional tariff for steel and aluminum. It's making them thrive, and it's already happened.
Mr. President, we're coming up on the deadline for the TikTok sale. Will you extend that deadline if you don't have a deal? Do you support Oracle?
Well, we will have a form of a deal. TikTok is very popular, very successful, very good. We're going to have a form of a deal, but if it's not finished, it's not a big deal. We'll just extend it. I have the right to have the deal and to extend it if I want. So we'll see whether or not we have a deal. We have a lot of interest in TikTok.
Is there a way for a U.S. company to operate it and ByteDance to still have a share of the algorithm without
Well,
putting their...
there are numerous ways you can buy TikTok, and we will find the one that's best for the country, for our country. I'm worried about our country more than anything else with respect to TikTok. And China is going to have to play a role in that, possibly.
All right. So the J.D. Vance answer comes up later. We already heard that anyway. I think we're good with that. I think we're good with that. Here, the Democrats all having their little conniptions. This is under 2 minutes, so we'll handle less than 2 minutes of Democrat conniptions.
Thank you, Mike. I want to thank Pat Ryan, Mike Thompson for organizing this.
It's like an UGO convention. Vindman. Colonel Vindman.
Really important press conference. What Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth did was outrageous. He sent secret war plans to a journalist. And
No,
the
he
reason
didn't.
that
What
that
is you're such
so
a liar.
reckless is if
No, he didn't.
anyone other than people who should have had that information got it, you could put
No one
Congress at
did.
risk. If a foreign intelligence
No one
service
did.
was
And
monitoring
it wasn't Hegseth
that
had no way of
reach out,
knowing he was there.
They could have given it to Houthis, and Houthis could have shot down a pilot.
No, they couldn't have. They don't even have air
Really,
defense.
really disturbing that
No,
the White
you're very
House still does
disturbing.
not seem to understand the seriousness of this problem. Even today, they're saying somehow that this information was not classified. They were just lying. All of us here,
Really?
sort of uniform, we know that that would have been classified. You
That's
cannot
not true.
talk about the time, date, place, targets, sequence of strikes.
They didn't
Not-
talk about they didn't talk about the place. That's the key thing. They didn't talk about the place. So
have that be classified because again, you're putting American troops' lives at risk. And I also want people to understand that it's not just
We're gonna
that the
defend
Signal
all of
app
Yemen?
is not authorized. The Pentagon sent an email according to public reporting on March 18th saying do not use this. It's that you've got software out there, one of them is known as Pegasus, that simply takes over and controls your phone. So you don't even have to break into the Signal app. You simply become the user and you can simply monitor everything that is happening. So if Foreign Intelligence Service was doing that,
What
this
the hell are you
again
talking about,
was
Pegasus?
very reckless and endangered our national security.
What are you
And that's why
talking
we're
about?
calling for an investigation to get to the bottom of this.
Investigation, get to the bottom of this. You don't care about getting to the bottom of anything unless you think it makes someone look bad. You don't care about getting to truth. The last thing you care about is truth. You're Ted Lieu. You have a long history of having a very distant relationship with truth. You have a hate relationship with truth. Doesn't care about truth. Let's get Carolyn Leavitt answering some questions.
Caroline, I appreciate it and this opportunity for Merit TV. Two questions, if I may. One on Signal, one on the economy. Sure. On Signal, how comfortable is the president with what was shared so far now that the chain has been released?
The president's view on all of this remains the same today as it did yesterday. And I think it speaks volumes about the leadership of this president that he went directly to all of you, members of the press corps. He was asked, do you want someone else to go out and do a briefing? And he said, no, I will tackle this story. I will discuss it. The people need to hear from me about the situation. And so his thoughts on this remained the same today. He has placed great trust in his national security team. And as for the usage of Signal, as the president said yesterday, as the CIA director has testified under oath, this is an approved app. It's an encrypted app. The Department of Defense, the Department of State, the CIA has it loaded onto government phones because it is the most secure and efficient way to communicate. As for, again, the original situation in this messaging thread, the National Security Council, the White House counsel's office continues to look in to how this mistake, which the National Security Advisor has owned, occurred. And the president has ensured they are doing that.
So there you go. That was one from her. We have a second one. We got a second one.
Vice President seemed to express some frustration that Europe wasn't doing more to police waterways in their backyard, noting in that Signal thread that 40% of European trade goes through the Suez Canal. Does the president share that opinion and frustration? And then going forward, should the Europeans be responsible for policing that waterway?
Well, the president was asked this question yesterday by the pool in the cabinet room, and he answered this question. He said, yes, he believes that Europe has been, as The vice president put it, freeloading on the backs of American taxpayers and off the backs of the United States of America. And he wants to ensure that
bunch of
Europe pays their fair
Europeans.
share. He's always been very honest and upfront about that. And I think the vice president shares those concerns with him as well.
She does go very hard against the Chinese.
Thanks, Chairman.
Let's get the full thing of seeing Tulsi handle herself here for 5 minutes.
And I know it's all us who are worried about this only, but apparently the Senate Armed Services Committee Chair and Ranking Member requested Inspector General report on this chat. So I'll tell you why more people are worried about this than you might think, and that's
Tell us quickly.
Director Gabbard, your position was created post 9/11 because of the horrible intel failure that took place there, where we weren't sharing information. It wasn't adequately shared within the community and between our allies. We have to believe that our allies look at this as a colossal mistake.
Well, you keep
and
screaming it's a colossal
hesitate
mistake.
to a certain extent, wanting to share sensitive information with us that keeps us safe, because they're worried about their sources and methods as well.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be at least somewhat concerned that our allies would look at this and say that wasn't the perfect way to communicate?
This is a lot better than having a president who is a walking corpse. So no, this is a pretty stupid question given what we've dealt with the last 4 years.
Congressman, thank you for the question.
Frankly, we're still trying to rebuild ties with their intelligence community, because while they were kissing our ass, they were very useless during that time. That's what I would say if I was, not that I know this shit.
Information that was put out in the chat by the Secretary of Defense had included specific
they were sharing
sources
with
and
us.
methods and targets and names, then the answer would be yes, but that was not the case.
Let me stop you there because there's such a limited time. Generals, look, you're here because you got tough spots, so I have to put you on the spots. You're passing information like this just within your agency, and you know that it's going to include, we are go for mission launch, Houthis, sea lanes, the information about the weapon systems. That gets to the Houthi military commanders. Doesn't it make you think they're at least going to say duck?
Thank you for the opportunity to weigh in on the issue. Yes, if we were collecting this on our adversaries and we're able to get this information, as was asked of General Hawk earlier, we would consider that classified, but it's classified under the collection piece. The data that we're talking about here is the operational data, not the intelligence data.
Respectfully, sir, just because we have limited time.
Secretaries.
The Houthis military leader is going to duck when he hears this, or he's going to take some action, or he's going to try to shoot our planes down, right?
You think he's just going to walk around like this the whole time? That's what you're suggesting he's going to do?
If he has actionable intelligence, he will certainly use it.
I'm talking about this intelligence. You don't think he can figure out? Houthis is mentioned a couple times, sea lanes. They show the weapon system. At least it's a credible warning to him.
I would offer the Houthis' defensive position has been.
Or like F-18s and drone strikes. That's like earth-shattering news. Oh my God! Can you believe that now they're using drone strikes? It's like, I don't know, maybe they read a newspaper from 10 years ago about Obama drone striking across the world. I don't know.
Since the 15th of March.
All right. General, I'll just take a whack at it. You're the Houthis military leader. You get this information passed on to you. It doesn't make you at least take warning?
I would, Congressman, I think from the Houthis' perspective, they do have air defense equipment, and they would be able to detect aircraft being able when they're entered into the Red Sea, and certainly when we have our intelligence aircraft operating over top of their country, they'd be able to detect that activity.
But being forewarned is extraordinarily important. I'll take another stab at it. If just language like this in a different context, okay, but just within your department, sir, your people are passing this information.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. If you asked any 50-year-old living in America since birth American to what they know about our military and our military capacity, they probably know more about the military than I know. I've never professed any knowledge on that. I don't have any knowledge. I'm reliant on the kindly insights of some of you amazing fans here who come and join our program. If you asked me if I knew that America is attacking some foreign nation, and you ask me, who knows nothing about the military, can you speculate, Joe, what type of systems, what type of warfare do you think they're going to engage in when they're undergoing it, when they're going to begin this attack? What do you think they would start with, Joe? The two things I would have said are F-18s, drone strikes. I mean, seriously, seriously, everyone knows that. I might come up with the word tomahawk. Javelin. It's like, oh, this is, it's just like, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Do you advise that maybe they don't use Signal on this? Are there other forms? Obviously, they're going to be more secure.
What I would offer is the data that we would be passing would be the full target packages and the full set of operational information. and that
Okay,
would
but
be
even if it
classified.
was just this, do you really want to give the possibilities that they could be breached, hacked, and they would get this information? Wouldn't you, even with just this, sir, respectfully, wouldn't you want to use a more secure means of
We are using a more secure means. That's what you said.
I think what I would offer are two things, and hopefully they're helpful to you. One of them would be, in addition to that full package that we would talk about, when the secretary extracted individual details from that and provided those on Signal, whether individually or in aggregate, that is his decision of what is classified and what is not from an operational aspect. And that's probably the most important relevant piece to there. And I would echo what we've said before. It's the secretary's authority for the
just give me, there's more secure ways of communicating any of this, right?
There are, and our adversaries have
General, there
various
are,
ways
right?
to intercept.
There's much more secure means that you use, even if you don't think that this is, or you don't want to.
So they're trying to attack the use of Signal, which is kind of stupid because everyone was using Signal. So that's very much a Monday morning quarterbacking. Very, very much a Monday morning quarterbacking. All right. That's our show. I'm sticking to it. I didn't end up having time for the call in. Should I take one or two calls? I'll take one or two calls. I said I was going to have calls, so I'm going to take one or two calls. Do you think that my take is wrong? You might have a different opinion. I do think that we need to look responsible here. I understand what Bebop is saying here. You give them an inch, and they'll take a mile. He already said he's okay with an inspector general. So why not get in front of it by having your own investigation? But I'm going to take your calls. The number to call if you have a thought about this whole story, about you want to give me, especially if you disagree with me. I prefer that. But I'm really not taking the maximum. Taking is 3 calls. Please keep it short because I actually promised Lady Lawgic that I was going to finish a little late tonight. So, yeah, the number to call is 972-454-0703. That's 972-454-0703. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. I don't know if Darkborn's still around.
Call from
Joe Sound Guy.
Hey, how you doing, Joe?
I'm good. How are you, my friend?
Hanging in there like a loose tooth. Could let go any minute, make a bloody mess of the whole damn thing.
Nice. Nice.
So, what do you want to talk about?
What do you think the Trump administration should do with this at this point?
With the Houthi thing?
The signal, the typo,
Yeah.
the typo error story.
I think you're on point. Fire Wong.
Fire Wong.
Bye-bye.
Hasta
Yeah, you know, hasta bye-bye.
I like it.
Egg Foo Wong, bye-bye. You know, he's gone. Wong is gone. We could go down this road for a minute. But, yeah, he's got to go. You know, Trump will take it on the chin and say, yeah, there was a problem there. The staffer did it bad, and he's gone. Next question.
Yep.
What he wants to do. We fired him. Anybody else?
And
Well, what do you want? Would you like us to go spank him now? I mean, it's like, stop asking this. Oh, yes, and I denounce racism.
I denounce the KKK. I don't want their support.
I condemn the racism. Yeah, I know I'm still not an honest. It's like,
I
stop it.
condemn. Okay, fine.
You haven't condemned it today.
You're great.
No, so yeah, that's the answer. I don't think this is really. I think to the average everyday person, anybody with half a brain, like you put it together brilliantly. F-18s and drones, really? I mean, I'm retired Air Force. Anybody who knows me in the chat, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to go, yeah, F-18s and drones. Yeah, okay. You mean the planes that drop smart bombs and the drones that don't have people in them? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
like we've seen in every American movie in the last 15 years. Come on.
I don't know. Maybe that's beyond the Yemenite Yemenite intel that they haven't seen movies in the last 15 years,
well,
so they may not know. They may not know that we got drones.
They have internet over there too, so they see all the same movies.
Oh, damn it! Damn Hollywood!
We'll get Elon to turn that off or something, but because he controls the internet now, he runs the thing. I heard here, Rosie, she explained all of that.
No.
But yeah, so you got to give your enemy, half the credit of having a brain, and they're actually operating sophisticated, anti-ship missiles and shit. So this isn't a casual thing. They know they're being attacked. Surprise! This isn't news to them. It wasn't like Trump is keeping this a secret.
Yeah. It's not a sneak attack.
So this is all bullshit. This is part of I think the reason they get a little pushback on running the story is I think a lot of your listeners, and at least I could speak for myself, and I suspect some people feel the same way I do. This is going nowhere fast. In 5 days, this is going to be ancient history. It's over.
That'd be good.
It's not important.
I have a feeling it's going to linger. I have a feeling they're going to make it linger.
Oh gosh, I hope. Well, it might make for good fodder because the Democrats have nothing.
Yeah, they have nothing.
Nothing. They have nothing.
I mean, there were two bad decisions. There were two bad court cases today. I didn't get a chance to cover them. One of them was that ghost guns. Supreme Court said, yeah, you have to register your ghost guns.
Do you follow Dershowitz's channel?
7-2.
I know. Did you follow Dirt? Did you? I don't know. I haven't had a chance to read it. I sort of summary.
I very rarely catch the Dirt show.
He really had a bizarre take where he said that, and I would encourage you to watch it, and they'll send you you know how to get there. Where he said a well-regulated militia, and that the regulated somehow, he magically in his discussion moved the word regulated to arms. And I'm thinking, well, wait a second. There's a lot I love about Dersh, and I really appreciate, but he just destroys grammar in this argument that, this isn't like a textual or an originalist question. It's just, I don't like guns, so grammar doesn't count.
Yeah.
Because obviously regulate must mean guns, not militia. Forget the comma.
What?
And I really go look at it and give it a minute and tell me what you think.
Yeah. The other decision which came out today was the First Circuit upholding that requirement that Trump pay off on the investment, the Reconstruction Act, and and the First Circuit held up on that. You gotta hope the Supreme Court overturns on that and just says, "Hey, look, you stupid district court judges, you don't have authority to set federal policy." That's
When
what we
I
gotta
saw
hope.
when I saw the ghost guns argument lose, because the ghost gun argument goes to, well, wait a second, what about the screws that hold the gun together?
See, here's the thing. This
is crazy talk.
Here's the thing. They basically are saying, well, you just register it and the government will know about it, and that's fine. So the government will know about it. And these are institutionalists. I'm telling you that how long I've been saying it. You have two constitutionalists, 2.5. Gorsuch fell the wrong way today. And as he has a couple of times in the past, he's no Alito and he's no Thomas. So
yeah, are you the guy who put it out there? It might have been Bronco, that the judge isn't 6-3. It's really 3-3-3.
I've been saying that a lot. It's 3-3-3.
Yeah.
There are three institutionalists, and there are three on the left, which are Ketanji Brown Jackson and Kagan and Sotomayor. There's three on the right if you count Gorsuch and with Alito and Thomas, and you have your three establishment institutionalists who are like strong government because government is good and government is everything, and that's Barrett and Kavanaugh and Chief Justice Roberts.
And you know what? As a little sidebar, I encourage everybody in the sound of my voice, go read those decisions and take note of the authors. Because boy, oh boy, when you read what Thomas has to say or Gorsuch, you come away with, wow, you come away with one opinion. When you read some of the others, you come away with very different opinions.
Yeah.
And it's so clear in their writing how smart they are. I mean, they call a baby ugly. And KGV is not, or Ketanji, whatever her damn name is, she has not impressed me at all. She is a Looney Tune. But, don't take my word for it. Go read the words she writes, then puts her name on, and make up your own darn mind. And then contrast them to some of the other justices. And,
yeah.
But I find that so informative when I get excited and I get an opinion about these things. It's like, well, what are they trying to say? And man, sometimes they're just stupid.
Yeah.
They're really surprising. It's so informative to read.
I'll tell you something.
Anyway.
I'll tell you something on that. When I was a first-year law student and I was talking to someone and this is, gotta realize, this is in the late 90s. When I was a law student, I was talking to a lawyer and he was saying how the quality of writing in the Supreme Court justices have been steadily deteriorating. And I said, if you look back 200 years ago versus 150 years ago versus 50 years ago versus today, you can see it's not a one-day decline. It was a steady, continual decline in the quality of writing. So I want to ask you, maybe you can help me with something here. I got a super chat which says, "Hey Joe, AC, synonymous with Mad and Popo. YouTube doesn't like when I spell out his name, made a video on this." I don't know who AC is.
AC.
Alpha Charlie.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, synonymous with Mad and Popo. Angry. Oh, I know who he's talking about. He's talking about the belligerent police officer. It's angry. And instead of police officer, the C is not police officer. It's the short.
I see.
It's
I say
angry cop.
Popo meaning angry cop.
Yeah. Maybe a humorist and got subject matter expertise worth a watch, or maybe having a guest. Maybe I will have him on here. I went on his show once. Maybe I'll try to have him on.
You should. I had an idea for you for super chats, and maybe I'm going to throw this out there, totally off topic.
What do you got?
Now this ship might have sailed, but put this in the crock pot. How many super chats would it take for you to go to the theater with one of your children and watch Snow White?
I've thought about this. I wouldn't. How many super chats would it take me to go to the theater and watch Snow White?
Would it take $10 super chats? Would it take $20, $10 super chat.
I wouldn't.
you know,
I
I'm
wouldn't.
not-
I would not. Seriously, I would not subject my child to that socialist crap.
Or but what would you
It
do
would
for
be.
the
It would.
show?
It would do Lady Lawgic. Lady Lawgic. I would do. But yeah.
Food for thought. Because these social things do come up. These things like Snow White, which is totally a social issue, not a political thing, not a law thing.
Yes.
But the next bad movie that comes out, it's like, okay, guys, if I can get $200 in super chats today, I will go review that bad movie tomorrow.
I'll think about it over the weekend. I'll think about it over the weekend.
Good luck on Tim Pool.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
These guys, they run over Ron Coleman, which makes me worried they're going to run over you.
That's not going to happen.
So I don't know how you're going to go in there and play their game.
I
it's
am
all
ready
about
to
him.
go. I am ready to go. I am ready to go. We'll see. I don't know. It's Culture War. It's not his regular show, so I think it might run a little differently. And
So you
also,
think it's gonna-
this is a debate. I'm having a debate with Pisco on there.
Now this is about the immigration stuff.
This is about Mahmoud Khalil, the guy who was. The question is this chilling free speech or is this immigration law? So I've been doing a lot of reading on immigration law this week, and I have to tell you,
Well, I know
it's
a
hard
little
to find a
bit
more
about it.
boring area of law than immigration law.
Oh, tell me about it. When I this whole law thing started for me about the same time, where I discovered. I took a class in college, copyright, which taught as a law class, and I thought that was fascinating. And I stumbled into Ron Coleman with the slants back then, 15 years ago.
No way. That's cool.
Yeah. So it was really fascinating that later on this is the Ron Coleman.
Yeah.
But all of that to tell you, my wife is a citizen of the Philippines,
Is
as
what?
were her children.
Oh, the Philippines.
A citizen of the So to get her in the United States, I went through the entire K-1 with derivatives and dependents process, and I pushed all of that paperwork, and it took quite a bit of time. And I could talk to you about it sometime, maybe offline.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a casual thing, to go through all of that.
Yeah, but I really need the legal issues for what when they could deport, and that's not going to be something that someone who
that's not my job.
know. Yeah,
but I know intuitively, and I know just from my own experience, if you're not a born and natural citizen, right? This is your only country, right? Then you're something else. And that something else could be a permanent resident where you could lose the residency.
Right. It's a green card holder. It's a permanent resident.
But, then there's different kinds of green cards.
Right.
There's a student visa. There's a permanent resident. And then there's a temporary, the 2-year green card, which my wife and the kids got. And there's provisionals. There's work visas. For example, I used to work for an entertainment company that hired foreign nationals. And during COVID, one of the troubles they had was they were closing their shows. And if they didn't continue to pay the foreign nationals would have to go back to their country of origin. And the entertainment company would lose access to their employees because they got kicked out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So they were stuck in this catch-22 right? So all of these visas, right, they have different conditions and they have different measuring sticks.
I know it's a major. It's such a pain in the ass trying to distinguish them.
And nobody wants to
I've
hear
never dealt with immigration law in my life, and I started even the first time ever in my life looking at it was in this case. So this is the one I get called in for Tim Pool. But trust me, I've been doing a lot of research. I'm gonna seem very knowledgical here. I've got case law. I'm gonna be quoting stuff. I should be good to go. I also have the philosophical. Oh, trust me, I know. It's got to be something that it's got to be. I've debated before. It'll be good. It'll be fun.
Yeah. I mean, because these guys are going to be like case law, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's like, so you're a guest here with a visa. Yeah, you're a guest. And if you overstep, you're out.
Well,
just like you have a guest in your home. Just like if your wife misbehaves in your home, it's a different problem than if I misbehave in your home.
Yep.
If I misbehave in your home, you send me away. If your wife misbehaves in your home, you send yourself away. Or, you know, or if your kids really get off, you know,
Yeah.
and
Your kids are able to come back. Yeah, that's exactly it.
right.
Yeah.
So it's a really good analogy to kind of say, well, people who are not natural born citizens fall in the same sort of rubric of, well, what kind
And they
of
don't
guest
have
are you?
they don't have and even though they have a variant of civil right protection, it's not, especially when it comes to First Amendment. The Supreme Court has said that it's not the same level of protection that American citizens have. It's just not.
Exactly true.
So
and due process is not the same for every person in every case, for every infraction of every law.
well, the other thing is, and the government's whole case on this whole thing has been essentially that they're not supposed to be in federal district court. That's not what the way they were supposed to do this. There's actually a system. A lot of people mistakenly think that Donald Trump was going to whisk him away and just, you know, ship him off to Nicaragua or some Middle Eastern country and just dump him there without him having any opportunity to be heard. There are procedures in place which they were following, and he would have had that opportunity. Now, there are certain things he could raise in those procedures that he wouldn't necessarily be able to raise, but those issues he's only allowed to go through after he's been processed. And the reason for that process is because we're trying to streamline the system, and because we want to because there's a way that this is supposed to be done. And this is all governed by statute, which he ignored. His lawyers ignored and said, no, we want to make a whole federal stink about this. Literally, we want to make a federal case about it. Now, which visa is he under? Is he a permanent resident? He came here under a student visa and transferred over to a green in 2022, and then transferred to a green card in 24. So
okay, so he's on the 10-year. Yeah, now the permanent resident visa is a 10-year visa. That's what permanent means. So you just renew it every 10 years.
Yeah, but part of his issue is that he lied on his application to transfer from a visa to
well, guess
a green
what?
card.
If I lie coming into your house, you know,
false pretenses.
hasta la bye-bye.
Yeah.
You know, Rubio put it really well. If we'd have known that,
we never had him in here.
We never let you in.
So he tricked his way in here.
Next question.
Yeah.
And
let me go, brother. I
freaking
gotta like take at least one more call here, and
you should take much more than that. I'm sorry to monopolize your time.
No, you're
Always
awesome.
great
I
talking to you,
appreciate you, brother. Take care. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Goldberg was dumb for blowing his cover on such a nothing burger. I'd wait for something huge to happen. What a waste of opportunity. He's a buffoon. They just want to embarrass Trump. That's all they cared about. That's all they cared about, was find some way. And they also were trying to derail the whole and try and find some life for the Democratic Party. Assuming this was intentional.
Call from Kimmy Hunt.
Jimmy.
Hey, Joe.
Let me get this list. We got 3 chats here. Joe, thoughts on Lena Howard being named interim U.S. Attorney for New Jersey? I already brought that up, Darkborn, the other night, and I thought it was a great move on his part, frankly. I thought it was a really good move. She seemed, at the very least, she knows how to present herself, and a large part of being the head of an office is being able to present yourself to the public, and she certainly seems very skilled at that. I don't know her skills practicing as an attorney. I didn't have a chance to observe that part of her. I know she represented Trump with respect to the New York criminal trials, but yeah, I mean, and it's good to keep the people who took care of you and take good care of them. So I assume this is a position she was looking for, and yeah, that's appropriate. So I think that she's a fine pick. I think it seems like a very no less good than where he put Emile Bove, right? Todd Blanche as being assistant to the. She was on the tax case, I think, not the criminal case. I think she was on tax. I remember her screaming about Letitia James a lot. A couple more chats here. Paddington Peru is better. All right. Heard Khalil lied on his green card application, which invalidates it. Yep. There you go. What's up? What's on your mind, Kimmy?
I have a different perspective on this something Wong.
Do it.
Okay. I think they should keep him where he's at. First, just listen to me. Keep him where he's at for now, because you do not want to give these leftists and the media a win. So you just make them think it's status quo, but look at this guy with a very jaundiced eye. And make this guy think that he's got a pet. Wong.
Okay.
Alex Wong. Make him think that everything's cool. And watch him really close.
No. I would want this viper far away.
And no, you just leave him there, but watch him very close and put Dan Bongino on his butt.
Why not just get rid of him?
Well, because you don't want to give the media a win. So you watch him for a while, investigate it, make sure that it wasn't a mistake. If it wasn't a mistake, then you turf him somewhere else for a while so he's harmless. Like put him in that mine where they're doing retirement documents or something. You know, put him somewhere in the government where he's far away from the White House. And then in about a month, you just let him go. And the media, it would have died by then. But do not give them, never, ever, ever do you sacrifice the head of one of your team members to try to appease your enemy.
He's not a head. He's the second. He's the second in command. So he's not a head. But
Well,
I
yeah,
hear your point. I hear your point,
No,
Kimmy.
because they're not going to stop there. Of course, they're aiming for Hegseth for some reason. They're diverting to Hegseth.
They hate
That's
Hegseth.
their narrative,
They
and I
hate
don't know
Hegseth.
why.
They hate
I
it.
know, but they're like thinking, well, yeah, you know, he thought he was in a safe chat. He thought he was in a safe. He had no idea this guy was lurking there.
Yeah, the whole thing is stupid. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's stupid. But anyway, that's what I would do is I would just make them say, you know what, we're investigating. We're done with this story. And then it'll die down and they'll forget about it and stuff and just kind of leave him there. And then just slowly he does the Irish goodbye. You fade him out. But I would
All
not
right.
trust him as far as I could throw him.
Yeah, no, I certainly, I wouldn't trust him as far as you can throw him either.
Okay.
Have a good night, Kimmy. Thank you so much.
You too.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. It's an interesting thought. It's an interesting thought to say you don't want to give them a win. I definitely can hear that argument. Dominion After Dark says, Joe, when you go MIA Thursday and Friday nights, my channel will be running the Mofo No Show Joe Show at 9 p.m. Central. So that's Dominion After Dark on Rumble. And then he sent me another one for $1 saying the same thing. When you go MIA Thursday, Friday nights, channel running the Mofo No Show Joe Show. And Scorpid Black Dragon says, Joe, I keep reading accounts that Doge did this and Doge did that, when in fact Doge only identifies issues over FWA, which the respective agency took action to fire individual or cancel contracts. It's a big problem that they have, that they struggle with comprehension. This is why just don't worry about them. Don't worry about their warnings. They're going to be whining. That's what they do. And that's our show. I'm going to be wrapping up over here. I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow. You will be able to catch me on Tim Pool's Culture War, God willing, 11 a.m. Friday. So I'm not going to be on Laidback Law. I'm going to be there. And we'll see if I'm here Saturday night or Sunday. Hopefully. Should be. You'll find all that information at goodlogic.locals.com, goodlogic.locals.com. And scene. Oh, whoops. Lab meat, they, them, not for you, and do not eat the bugs. Have a good night, everyone. And as always, Godspeed.